students. This is Ma'am Navina bringing you the second chapter for discussion and explanation. The chapter's name is Nelson Mandela, Long Walk to Freedom. It's an extract from an autobiography written by Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela. Autobiography, you must be knowing what is an autobiography. Autobiography is a book written by the person himself or herself about his life story or life history. So, before we start the lesson, this important famous name over here, Nelson Mandela. Okay, this person, many of you must be knowing him. Why, for what he is famous and all. So, before that, let's just go to the introduction of Nelson Mandela. So, his full name here, Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela. He was a person who had fought for apartheid. Okay, he was an anti-apartheid revolutionary and a political leader, and he was also a philanthropist. Philanthropist here means a person, a very wealthy person who gives his money, his time to help people, other people, to make those other people's life better. Okay, means he always works very actively to bring some human welfare. Okay, so his life, throughout his life, he struggled with that, and he served as the Black President of South Africa from 1994 to 1999. Okay. In this book, Long Walk to Freedom, his autobiography, he wrote about his early life, his other stage of his life as he grew up, okay, his youth age, how he struggled, how he joined the African National Congress, the political party, and his education. And a most important part is discussed in this book is about his 27 years in prison. Okay, he was born in July 18th, 1918, in a small village known as Mavizo in South Africa, and in a clan known as Madiba clan. He died in 5th December 2013. He was also awarded for his all this successful work, working for the welfare of the people. He was awarded the highest award known as the Nobel Peace Prize. And in India, he was also given Bharat Ratna and Presidential Medal of Freedom and many other more awards in his lifetime. Okay, so this was short introduction of Nelson Mandela. Now in this next part, you see what has been given here. Mandela becomes South Africa's first black president. So this chapter and this part has been taken from the newspaper print from BBC, that is British Broadcasting Corporation, and how it tells us about what all Nelson Mandela was been feeling during the inauguration ceremony, where he was taking the oath to become the first black president. So let's see here. Nelson Mandela has become South Africa's first black president after more than 3 centuries of white rule. So what is this? 3 centuries here means for about 300 years the white were ruling over the blacks. Though this country was blacks' country, but the whites, the foreigners, the outsiders were ruling for 300 years. Mr. Mandela's African National Congress, politicians and dignitaries from more than 140 countries around the world. So this day he is talking about the inauguration day, where the ceremony was taking place was in Union Buildings amphitheater. What is an amphitheater? Amphitheater is just like a stadium. Okay, it's a very huge area, and the sitting arrangement is surrounding the whole the area, but there is no roof. There is no roof on top. It's open. Okay. And which place? In Pretoria today, he says. Yeah. See? And it was attended by different politicians and dignitaries. Okay. Dignitaries here means respectable people from more than 140 countries around the world. And in there is one quotation. These are his own words. Never, never again will this beautiful land experience the oppression of one by another. What does Nelson Mandela say over here? What is he speaking? He is saying, never, never again will this beautiful land, what is beautiful land here? It refers to his country, his place, South Africa, that it will never experience the oppression. Oppression here means the cruelty, the rudeness, okay, the feeling of discrimination of one by another. Jubilant scenes on the streets of Pretoria followed the ceremony with blacks, whites and color reds celebrating together. More than 1 million South African men, women and children of all races sang and danced with joy. So he's telling us about how the scene was there in that period, in that time, okay? That people of different colors, black also, white also, color reds, okay, all maybe like more than 1 million. They were all rejoicing and celebrating the ceremony. Now we start with the chapter here. 10th May dawned bright and clear. For the past few days I had been pleasantly besieged by dignitaries and world leaders who were coming to pay their respects before the inauguration. The inauguration would be the largest gathering ever of international leaders on South African soil. So which day was it? The inauguration day was held in the month of May and the date was 10th. It was dawned bright. It came up bright and clear. It was not rainy or cloudy or gloomy day. It was bright and clear. And for the past few days, he had been pleasantly besieged. Besieged here means surrounded. He was surrounded by dignitaries, respectable people, okay, and great world leaders also. They were coming to pay their respects before the inauguration, okay. Here already we have learned that 140 countries, okay. The ceremonies took place in the lovely sandstone amphitheatre formed by the Union buildings in Pretoria. For decades this had been the seat of white supremacy. For decades, for 30 to 40 to maybe 90 years, okay, this place was a seat of white supremacy. Supremacy here means white head. And now it was the site of a rainbow gathering of different colors and nations for the installation of South Africa's first democratic non-racial government. But today was the time, was the place there where it was a rainbow gathering of people. People of different colors were gathered together, okay, and South Africa's first democratic non-racial government was going to take place, okay. On that lovely autumn day, I was accompanied by my daughter Zenani. He was being accompanied by his daughter. His daughter's name is Zenani. On the podium, Mr. D. Klerk was first sworn in as second deputy president. Thabo Mbeki was sworn in as first deputy president. When it was my turn, I pledged to obey and I uphold the Constitution and to devote myself to the well-being of the Republic and its people, to the assembled guest and the watching world. I said. So one by one, oath taking was taken place and the time came for Nelson Mandela to take his oath. And what did he say here? See, I said, today, all of us do by our presence here confer glory and hope to newborn liberty. out of the experience of an extraordinary human disaster that lasted too long, must be born a society of which all humanity will be proud. So today he say, today all of us present over here confer glory and hope to newborn liberty. Confer ourselves means what? Formally, let us hope for a newborn freedom out of the experience of an extraordinary human disaster. He says that discrimination of people according to the race was what? A human disaster which was extraordinary, never to be thought of, which had lasted long in their country. He says, must be born a society of which all humanity will be proud. Means today a new liberation, new freedom will be coming out, and this freedom, this liberty will be what? Will be an example for the other people, and people will be proud of it. We who were outlaws not so long ago have today been given the rare privilege to be host to the nations of the world on our own soil. So he was very happy. He says here, we who were outlaws, means we were not illegal in the country, we were said to be illegal, today had been given the rare privilege, very important privilege, to be host to the nations of the world, to invite the other country people to our own soil. And he was very, very happy. Okay, we thank all of our distinguished international guests for having come to take possession with the people of our country of what is, after all, a common victory for justice, for peace, for human dignity. So he says here, he doesn't say I here. See, he says we. He's talking about all the black people of his country. He says that we all are thankful. Okay, we thank all of our distinguished international guests, people coming from different countries. We are thankful of them for having come and take possession with the people of our country, for coming and working along, sitting and watching our ceremony, okay, of what is, after all, a common victory. He says that it's not victory of us, not only victory of South Africa, it's victory of the mankind. Okay, it's a common victory for justice, for peace, for human dignity. Okay, we have at last achieved our political emancipation. We pledge ourselves to liberate all our people from the continuing bondage of poverty, deprivation, suffering, gender and other discrimination. So he says here, we have at last achieved political emancipation. What is political emancipation? Freedom from restriction. There is no restriction now. We are free. Okay, free from bondage of poverty also. Deprivation, that is state of not having one's rightful benefits. Suffering, gender discrimination, like female and male, some community or region or any country, they have gender discrimination also. Okay, so that also he is talking about. Never, never and never again shall it be that this beautiful land will again experience the oppression of one by another. He says, he's praying to God. Okay, and he says that never, 3 times he says here, never, never and never again, that this beautiful land of his, South Africa, will never experience this type of oppression of one man to another man. The sun shall never set on so glorious a human achievement. He wants the sun to be shining throughout, okay, throughout the humankind. And he doesn't want this sun to set. Okay, let freedom reign. God bless Africa. Let freedom reign means freedom shall be forever and ever. Okay, and bless Africa. Okay. Okay, so this is the first part. See, now we come to the second part here. A few moments later, we all lifted our eyes in awe as a spectacular array of South African jet helicopters and troop carriers rode in perfect formation over the Union buildings. It was not only a day of pinpoint precision and military force, but a demonstration of the military's loyalty to democracy, to a new government that had been freely and fairly elected. Only moments before, the highest generals of the South African Defence Force and Police, their chests bedecked with ribbons and medals from days gone by, saluted me and pledged their loyalty. I was not unmindful of the fact that not so many years before they would not have saluted but arrested me. So this is the second part. What does Nelson Mandela say here? A few moments later, we all lifted. On that very day, after his speech, everybody's eyes goes up to the sky, and it was what? Up there, jets and helicopters and troop carriers roaring in the sky. Okay, it was not only a display of pinpoint precision and military force, but a demonstration of the military's loyalty. Okay, and to democracy, to a new government that had been freely and fairly elected. So here he is telling about that it was not only a display of any function, but all these jets, helicopters and troop carriers and the military force, they were showing their loyalty towards democracy, okay, and towards the new government that had been freely and fairly elected. Only moments before, highest generals of the South African Defence Force and Police, their chests bedecked with ribbons and medals from days gone by, they saluted me. What is me here? Who is me? Nelson Mandela. He's very much shocked. Okay. And he sees that they all are saluting him. But before, what did they used to do to him? They never saluted him. They had been taking him to prison, putting him to jail. Okay. So saluted me and pledged their loyalty. I was not unmindful of the fact that not so many years. So I was not unmindful here means he did not forget about the fact that not so many years before they would not have saluted but arrested me. Okay, they would never have been saluting me, giving me such respect, but they would have been arrested me and put me into prison. Finally, a chevron of Impala jets left a smoke trail of the black, red, green, blue and gold of the new South African flag. So after some time, what does he see and other people see in the sky? A chevron of Impala jets. And these smokes were of different colors. Which color? Black, red, green, blue and gold. This is the color of the South African flag. Okay. You can see in the same way we see during the 15th August and Republic Day of our country. Okay. So in that same way they have been rejoicing, and the military troops were showing their loyalty towards the democratic country. The day was symbolized for me by the playing of our two national anthems and the vision of whites singing Nkosi Sekule, I Africa, and blacks singing Die Stem. So this country, South Africa, had two different national anthems. One national anthem is sung by the whites and other one is by the blacks. So, but in this day, both the national anthems were being sung. The old anthem of the Republic is the Die Stem. Okay. Although that day neither group knew the lyrics of the anthem they once despised, they would soon know the words by heart. Okay. Despised here means both the whites and the blacks, they did not like one another's national anthem. Okay. But today, both were singing both the groups were singing the two national anthems. And if they didn't know also, he says, they would soon know the words by heart. On the day of the inauguration, I was overwhelmed with a sense of history. In the first decade of the 20th century, a few years after, so on the day of the inauguration, he was overwhelmed with sense of history. He was thinking about past. Okay. Overwhelmed with sense of history. In the first decade of the 20th century, a few years after the bitter Anglo-Boer War and before my own birth, the white-skinned peoples of the South Africa patched up their differences and erected a system of racial domination against the dark-skinned peoples of their own land. He's talking about the past history. How with this bitter Anglo-Boer War had made the white-skinned people to be discriminated by the South, by the whites, okay, and how this white-skinned people, they were being discriminated and were dominated by the white people, okay. Let's see here. White-skinned peoples of South Africa patched up their differences and erected a system of racial domination against the dark-skinned peoples of their own land, okay, of their own land. In their own land, other people were ruling, they were dominating, okay. The structure they created formed the basis of one of the harshest, most inhumane societies the world has ever known. And that structure, what they had formed, they had created, that political structure, the apartheid structure, okay, this was one of the harshest, rudest, cruelest, most inhumane, okay, not friendly to humanity societies the world has ever known. Period of mankind, nobody has known about this type of harshest, most inhumane structure, okay. Now, in the last decade of the 20th century and my own 8th decade as a man, so when he is writing this book, okay, how many years is, what is the age of Nelson Mandela? 8th decade, he says. 8th decade here means 80 years, okay. He is in his 80 years of age and he is writing, and now he says, now in the last decade of the 20th century and my own 8th decade as a man, that system had been overturned forever and replaced by one that recognized the rights and freedoms of all peoples regardless of the color of their skin. He says in the last end of this 20th century, okay, this whole system has been overturned forever and has been replaced by one that recognizes the rights and freedoms of all peoples regardless of the color of their skin. Means they do not see the race or the color, complexion of any people. Everybody is equal. That day had come about through the unimaginable sacrifices of thousands of my people. So now in this paragraph, he is talking about the other people before him also, along with him, who had struggled and fought for this day, okay. So he says that day had come about through the unimaginable sacrifices of thousands of my people, okay, people whose suffering and courage can never be counted or repaid. And he says that those people, those who had fought and struggled with me, those who had fought before also, before my birth also, for this day, he says, I cannot repay them, okay, nothing can repay their the courage, okay, the struggle what they had been doing for it. I felt that day, as I have on so many other days, that I was simply the sum of all those African patriots who had gone before me. So he says on that day, what was his feeling? As I have on so many other days, that I was simply the sum of all those African patriots. Okay, he says that I am just a drop. I am just a very small person, just a small dot. Okay, when I count on all those African patriots who had already gone before me, who had already died and sacrificed for their country. Okay, that long and noble line ended and now began again with me. He says that long list of African patriots, okay, those who had laid their life, sacrificed their life for their country, has come to an end and now began again with me. And now it is going to begin again with me. I was pained that I was not able to thank them and that they were not able to see what their sacrifices had wrought. So he is very much touched, emotional, he becomes emotional. He says that I'm not able to thank them. They are not with me. He wants to bring them back, okay, to make them see what is today's picture now in the country. It's very different from the picture what they had been. Okay, with I was pained that I was not able to thank them and that they were not able to see what their sacrifices had wrought. Wrought means what their sacrifice had brought the result. Okay. The policy of apartheid created a deep and lasting wound in my country and my people. So here he says that the policy of apartheid, this racial political system, had created a very deep, lasting injury to his people and to his country. He says that it will never be forgotten by anybody. It will take time for the people to forget about it. But he is also very happy that though we have suffered so much, but this type of oppression and brutality, cruelty on one another, okay, has brought some good results also, unintended effects. See, and that was that it produced people like Oliver Tambo, Walter Sisulu, Chief Luthilo, Yusuf Dadu, the Bram Fisher, the Robert Sobukwe. The what is the here? The is, we cannot write the in front of our name, the Nabina or the Rama. Okay, it's talking about the is talking about here, and you can see after the name there is S, talking about the speciality of that person. Okay, that in this country these type of people have come up. Okay, these are the examples, right? Okay, so these type of talented, high spirit people have come up, and these people are very extraordinary people. Okay, men of such extraordinary never be known again. Perhaps it requires such depths of oppression to create such heights of character. And he says, perhaps, I think that to bring up such type of character in a person, okay, we have to go through different types of oppression, different types of struggle, problems in life. Okay, then only these type of character can be brought up. My country is rich in the minerals and gems that lie beneath its soil. So as we know, South Africa is a very rich in natural resources and mainly in mineral resources. There are diamonds, gold, mines and all. But he says, but I have always known that its greatest wealth is its people, and he is praising his people because his people here, they are more finer and true people than the pure diamonds. It is from these comrades in the struggle that I learned the meaning of courage. Now in this paragraph, and this paragraph is very important, talking about courage according to Nelson Mandela. Okay, he has learned from his comrades. Comrades here means his fellow people, those who were together with him or before him in the struggle. Okay, he has learned the meaning of courage from them. Time and again I have seen men and women risk and give their lives for an idea. Okay, now and then he has come through people giving their life in very different risky ways, okay, to give their lives for certain thing. I have seen men stand up to attacks and torture without breaking, showing a strength and resilience that defies the imagination. I have seen many great people, okay, standing up to face the problem, okay, without breaking, without shattering, okay, without thinking about their lives, okay. I learned that courage was not the absence of fear, and from them he has learned that courage was not the absence of fear, okay. What is, according to him, courage? Courage is not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it, okay. You cannot say that I am very courageous person, okay. I am very courageous person only we can say when we fight with that fear, okay, not by running away from the fear. The brave man is not he who does not feel afraid, but he who conquers that fear. And he says brave man is not that person who does not feel afraid, not saying that I don't feel afraid, but he who conquers that fear, and person who tries to get victory over that fear, that person is a courageous person, brave person, according to Nelson Mandela. No one is born hating another person because of the color of his skin or his background or his religion. So he's saying here, when we are born on this earth, no one, okay, no one is born hating one another. We don't know anybody. We don't know anybody's religion or color or one's status, isn't it? Okay, people must learn to hate, and if they can learn to hate, they can be taught to love, for love comes more naturally to the human heart than its opposite. So he says here, people must learn to hate, he's saying. Okay, why? If they learn to hate, they can be taught to love. Why? Again, for love comes more naturally to the human heart than its opposite. Okay. He says that love is natural, but hate has to be, people must learn to hate. And if people learns to hate, they can be taught to love. Why? He comes to another example over here. See, even in the grimmest times in the prison, when he was in prison for 27 years, when my comrades and I were pushed to our limits. What is pushed to our limits? When they were tortured, okay, to an excess. Excess means towards their limits. I would see a glimmer of humanity in one of the guards. He would see one of the guards showing some humanity. Humanity means some emotion of love, okay. Perhaps just for a second, maybe it was just for a second, but it was enough to reassure me and keep me going. But it was enough for me, he says. That a second glimpse of love from that guard, okay, it reassured him and keep him going and made him to work, struggle more and more. Okay, man's goodness is a flame that can be hidden but never extinguished. He says man's goodness is a flame. Okay, every man has goodness in himself, and that goodness cannot be put to an end, cannot be extinguished, cannot be put to an end. It can be hidden, okay, but one or the other day it comes out. Okay, it will never go at all. Okay, like we see, just an example I'll give. Suppose a cruel person, okay, a murderer maybe, he would be having some love for his family members, for his wife, for his children. So that goodness is there, isn't it? Okay, he won't be able to, or he won't be killing his own family members. Okay, maybe he may be forced then only, but naturally he won't be able to kill his own wife or mostly his own child or children. Okay, so that emotion is love for his family members. So a cruel person also has love inside him. Okay, so man's goodness is a flame that can be hidden but never extinguished. So this is about the chapter up to here. In the next video again we'll discuss the another part.
Stay home, stay safe, do it for yourselves, do it for your family, do it for India. Let's break the chain of COVID-19. Hum honge kamyab. Jai Hind.